1. This happened over 10 years when I was still in grade school. Okay, so when I was a kid, me and my mom lived in a trailer park, and it sucked. The people there were crazy, the house was falling apart, it was just a mess. But the worst person I knew was this one guy, EK, who was the same age as me. So of course my mom and his mom tried from the very first day I was there to get us to become friends. EK was a real jerk from the beginning. He was extremely biased about who he played with, had a mouth like an Irishman, and would pick on anybody who didn't abide by his wants and rules. Example, I had my Game Boy with me one time and he wanted to play on it. I told him no. The very next day I was called to the office because I was bullying him by not sharing my toys. And then he made up another lie about me crying in front of the principal, which he used to get everyone to pick on me for being a crybaby. That is just one example, but this story is the worst one. Now, when I was 10, my mom got me a really awesome bike. It was a chopper Schwinn that looked like a Harley-Davidson motorcycle with bike pedals. I rode it everywhere I went, and of course it got lots of looks from the neighborhood boys. EK was one of them. One day he had come to my neighbor's house who I was playing some game with, my bike laying on the grass. He comes over and was like, "Hey OP, let's go play in the park." The trailer park had its own little playground that all the kids would go play on every day. I never went there because nobody would come with me. So I, being a stupid kid, fell for it and got on my bike. Neighbor followed me. EK was there waiting for us when we got there. And for the first time we were playing together. We went on the jungle gym laughing, like real friends would. Suddenly he was out of my sight for a minute, and then I felt a real sharp pain in my back. I dropped to the ground, and all I heard was, "Run!" I got to my feet when I noticed EK was on my bike, riding it as fast as he could down the street with the neighbor right behind him. Right beside me was a softball bat. I ran after them. Me being a pudgy guy, I couldn't catch up to them. So in tears, I went straight home and told my mom everything. She immediately got her coat and we drove right to EK's house, and sure enough, my bike was there, laying on the grass on his lawn. Mom went straight for the door and banged on it, loudly. Coming to the door was EM, looking like a prostitute. No, seriously, she looked awful, sagging skin, smoking a cigarette, wearing a tube top, all that sexy stuff. I can't remember the exact dialogue, but it consisted of my mom telling her about what happened, and her not showing the least bit of interest. She even laughed a few times, but I did hear her at one point say, "Boys will be boys," before taking another draw on her cigarette. And yes, EK was staring through a window, making faces at me. Eventually, EM just slammed the door. My mom told me to grab my bike. I did and started to ride it back home, my mom driving in front of me. Everything was going back to normal. I went home and had supper. My back was hurting pretty bad, and my mom was telling me that I got a giant bruise from the attack. Then we hear a pounding on our door. I open it up, and standing at the stairs were 2 police officers, with EM standing on our lawn with EK on my bike. "There he is, that's him." "Hey, this lady says you stole her son's bike. Is your mom home?" "What? That's my bike." "Let's get your mom, kid." Mom comes to the door and starts to talk with the cops outside. Both her and EM were raising their voices while I looked on from the door, which was glass, so I could see perfectly with it being closed. I couldn't quite hear what they were saying, but it sure looked like EM was just talking out her ass, and EK was just riding around on my bike, looking like he was going to get himself a free ride. Then my mom opened the door. "OP, come out here." I did. "Your mom says that this kid hit you with a bat." "Which he didn't." "Yeah!" Mom spins me around and lifts my shirt, and I couldn't see her face, but I did hear AM mutter a slight, "Oh." And that was enough for the cops to suddenly turn their attention to them, and they approached EK and told him to get off my bike. He wasn't budging, still saying it was his bike. EM literally pulled him off the bike and he landed side first on the concrete driveway. He started to cry. But did I feel sorry for him? Of course not. Before I knew it, EM was being handcuffed. She started spewing out obscenities and blaming me for turning her son into a little bastard. EK was taken home where he could eventually be taken away to be with family, I guess. So in the end, EM got arrested and charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor, child abuse, and, from what Mom would tell me years later, something that had to do with drugs. Pretty sure she was taking them, but for all I know, she could have been selling them. All I know is she was put away for close to 7 years for all that. EK, however, was let off the hook. Apparently, because he was underage, he couldn't be charged with battery. All I know is I didn't see much of him after this. He had moved in with his dad, I think. The reason why I suddenly remember all this is because just recently I had seen a mugshot of a guy being arrested for attempted robbery of a gas station. Sure enough, it was him, EK, all grown up. Obviously still a jerk, but now with karma biting him square in the butt. Hope both of them get help soon, but also I hope I never see any of them again. 2. This past summer I was working concessions on a Saturday. Not a very busy day. Our morning rush had just ended and most of the movies had already started outside of this one kids movie. I'm alone at the concession stand with about 3 small families, all about to see this kids movie. QREP. Entitled Grandparent in this case. She looks like she's in her 60s, very skinny with short white hair, and clearly holds herself to high standards, judging by the amount of makeup and expensive-looking outfit she was wearing. She is standing in line behind a mom, which I'm in the process of helping. She is almost done with her transaction, which totals to be almost $100. I ask if she is a rewards member, and she says she didn't know we had one. The inner salesman in me decides to try and sell her a membership, which doesn't take long, pitch and all, hoping I can save her a few bucks, though before I can start.
Can you please hurry up? I'm missing my movie for this, and you're taking forever.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I'll be with you as soon as I can.
Well, you better hurry. I told my grandson I'd get him a drink, and you're taking way too long.
I understand. I promise I'll be with you shortly. I look back down at the lady I was helping, quietly apologize, and give her a quick sales pitch before finalizing the transaction. She tells me she wants to sign up for the rewards program and to start filling it out for her. This all takes about a minute total. After I get all the things she ordered, which was a lot, I call up the EP.
Oh my god, finally! Could you take any longer?
I'm so sorry about the wait, ma'am. What can I get for you?
No, you're not sorry. After I told you to hurry up, you decided to go on some big unnecessary sales pitch. If you ever wanted to know the best way to lose customers, you found it.
I didn't realize—
I don't even know why you work here. You're so bad at your job. I'd highly recommend you find another place to work because this clearly doesn't suit you very well. I don't know how long you've worked here, but you should just quit your job and find a new line of work better suited for someone as lazy as you.
At this point, I look at her very confused, and internally holding back any laughter that wants to come out because not only have I been working here longer than almost every other person at that location, but I'm a minor working a part-time job so I can save up for college. EP then proceeds to hold up some fancy-looking ring and starts to shove it in my face.
See this? Yeah, that's real. That's what hard work gets you. Guess you'll never see anything like this in your life because you clearly don't even know what hard work is. You know what? Don't worry, I'll talk to your manager and get you fired. That way you won't be inconveniencing anybody else in the building like you did to me today.
So, what can I get for you?
I would like a bottle of apple juice, and don't even bother with that rewards crap. I don't want to hear you trying to sell me anything else.
I go grab the bottle of apple juice for her, specifically walking extra slow. Okay, that'll be $5.18. Oh, and do you have a rewards membership with us?
Ugh, no, I told you I don't want to buy that stupid rewards thing. Here is my card, just swipe it, and let me go back to my movie.
Would you like your receipt? EP didn't answer me. She then dramatically grabbed the $5 bottle of apple juice and stormed off into her theater. Afterward, I not only had the entire line that was waiting to order, but the lady that already ordered come up to me and apologize for EP's rude behavior. EP did go talk to my manager after her movie was over, but not before I told him what happened. He told her to leave and that if he ever saw her again, he'd be calling the police to have her escorted off the premises. I haven't seen her since. 3. First, I've been working with children for a long time. Even the most excitable toddlers are willing to communicate politely if asked. This is why I'm easily aggravated when adults are unable to compose themselves in public. Second, I've been having issues with my ID being lost in the mail. It's been difficult to iron out, and I've been running around for months reordering them. I was at the post office today, mid-December, yikes, and speak with the supervisor. I was lucky to have arrived when I did, as a huge surge of people trying to ship holiday packages showed up almost immediately after. I'm about 10 to 15 people behind, and am in a bit of a hurry but willing to wait because I can see employees scrambling around trying to help customers. Always plan ahead, y'all. I chatted a bit about the long line and holiday plans with the girl ahead of me. This is common among extroverts in the US. I suddenly noticed someone walking very close to me on the left side. As soon as there's a couple feet between myself and the girl in front of me, the wild Karen steps even closer and attempts to casually squeeze between us. I ignore her and close the gap before she can cut in line, which again is extremely long. She's loudly complaining to her teenage son about how she only has 10 minutes. I told Tammy Sparklefingers I'd have it shipped last week. Her son says they're already late, and they should come back tomorrow, so-and-so will be fine. I'm now third in line. She huffs and begins to walk parallel with me with a huge box, again trying to nonchalantly squeeze in. I try to close the 2-foot gap, but she shoves ahead and I run into her by accident. She looks at me and frowns.
Excuse you.
Mom, let's just go.
During this process, she also ran into the girl originally in front of me with her huge box. The girl turns around and is surprised to see a random lady where I used to be.
I'm in a huge hurry. Can you just move?
The girl raises her eyebrows and starts to say something, but the clerk calls her forward. She then gives me the yikes eyes and heads over to the desk. I say nothing because I'm trying not to make any more of a scene. Karen is called up to the desk at the same time. I am called to an adjacent one. The clerk takes my name and directs me to stand by a door and wait for a supervisor. I head over and can overhear Karen freaking out because the cost of shipping her giant package is more than $40. She demands to speak to a manager. Shocker. And the clerk tells her to hang on for a moment. The only supervisor will be at the desk in a few minutes. The supervisor, very nice, named Sherry, opens the top of the split door, calls my name, and I begin explaining my issue. Karen leaves her son and package, storms over and interrupts.
I have been waiting for 20 minutes, total bull, and I need a supervisor right now. My package.
I'll be over in just a moment. Go ahead and wait at the desk, please. Karen starts to argue, but OG Sherry begins to tell her to wait at the desk. Karen then grabs her package, ignores the clerk telling her to wait, and steps right up behind me as Sherry takes notes and copies her information for me. I thank her profusely when I finish and wish her a happy holiday. As I'm walking away, Karen frowns and starts telling Sherry her sob story. Sherry says for a third time to wait at the desk. Karen whips around, but by now the clerk has had a case of the Christmas screw-its and has called someone else to his desk, which has only grown. Sherry takes the brief moment Karen looked away to slam the top part of her door shut. I left before the shrieking started. 4. So let's start with this. The theater where I work is small. It is situated in a meek town, so nothing happens here. Usually, cue the belated premiere of one MCU movie in the theater. Most people who really cared about this film went to see it in the city, so there wasn't really that much movement, and we played it in our smallest screening room. 30 to 40 people came in, mostly teenagers or parents with their kids. In walks entitled Dad, balding guy in a black jacket with a little boy, 10 at best. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea how this started. I didn't serve this man and his son. I completely missed him coming in, and only caught on to the situation later. But basically, they bought tickets and went to their assigned screen after buying some snacks. The audience took their seats, one of us workers checked the screen for temperature and phones, and all was well. Now we check the screens a few times per screening. We have signs on all doors and by the steps leading to the screens that ask audiences to turn off their phones. There's also an announcement before every film that asks the same thing: turn off the phones. If you care to read one of those countless signs, you'll know that if you are caught using your phone in the screening room, you'll be asked to leave. Entitled Dad apparently couldn't read, or couldn't care less. We're strict on this because phones are really distracting. When we workers step into the dark room, the first thing we see from the door is the phone screen, because it is so bright in the theater lighting. They're really visible and annoying to other spectators, silenced or not. Next time this screening was checked, ED entitled Dad was on his phone. He was asked to turn it off. He instead grumbled and stuck it in his pocket. Then we checked the screen again after a few minutes and again asked ED to turn it off. That's when ED decides to argue. The worker dealing with him was almost brought to tears because he was so rude. She's a young girl, and she went to get the manager. Now, our manager is a big guy, buff as hell, tall and dangerous looking. He's a teddy bear, though. But the worker who was almost brought to tears was his sister, and he wasn't nice to the person who was mean to her. Our manager goes to ED and asks him to leave. ED throws a fit. He starts to yell at the manager, angry that he has to watch
this stupid movie,
and that he should be allowed to be on his phone because he's only there so his son can see it. We don't let children under 12 in without their parent or guardian, so yes, he had to be there if his son wanted to see the movie. Still, phones were prohibited. He claimed we should let him be on his phone and distract all the other audience members because he would be bored otherwise, all while shouting at the staff and disrupting the movie, which was already running. One of our workers had to run upstairs to the control room to pause the movie. 6 months of working in that theater, and that's the only time this had happened. Our manager finally won the argument and got ED to leave and take his poor son with him. I still worry for the kid because I'm sure he wanted to watch that movie. The manager apologized profusely to the remaining audience, and that the newest MCU movie continued to play. I had people coming out to grab some more snacks mid-premiere, and they asked me about ED and offered their support because they were worried about the staff. We also apologized again for the inconvenience, and they said it wasn't our fault. They were glad ED was gone. My manager mostly laughed about it. He said it wasn't a big deal. These things happen. His sister was shaken, but fine. We went ahead with our daily duties. Then it turned out ED wasn't gone after all. In he marches, alone this time. Maybe he didn't want to traumatize his child more. But I don't think he deserves the credit for thoughtfulness. So maybe his son was simply too shaken to return with him. Anyway, ED walks up to the tickets booth and asks, I kid you not, for a refund. The manager laughed and told him no way in hell is he getting a refund. We're usually really understanding and refunds aren't difficult to do, but my manager wasn't willing to cooperate with ED after he made his, the manager's sister, and his own, ED's son, cry and disrupted the premiere for a few dozen people. Besides, he broke the rules knowing he will be asked to leave, and the movie was more than half an hour in. He had no right to ask for a refund. He called my manager rude and demanded again that he gets a refund because he was kicked out of the cinema, and his son's day was ruined. Duh, you ruined it, ED. The manager said no and told ED to leave. ED started swearing and insulting our manager, but he was halfway out the door when he yelled that my manager was a brainless piece of testosterone-injected meat, and that he thinks he's so scary with all that muscle, but he won't be so scary when his ass is sued. So yeah, dude threatened my manager with a lawsuit while my manager was laughing his head off. The lawsuit never came, neither did the dude return. 5. This incident happened a few weeks before, and now that I think about it, I feel pretty bad, but at the same time, I feel like she deserved it. A little background. I had recently graduated from high school and thought I would work for a little while until I start college. One of my dad's friends offered me a job at his supermarket, which I gladly took. My job was a product promoter, which meant that I would give out samples of products to the customers and promote the product. It's almost been a month since I have joined, and just a week before my parents told me they were moving back to our home country and that I would have to quit my job. The day of this incident also happened to be my last day at work. Now on to the story. So we were having a busy day as it was a weekend and I had to refill my tray several times. The product I was promoting seems to be pretty popular among the customers, because I had a lot of them coming back for a second helping. This is where our EB, aka Entitled Bitch, walks in. She came over with her kid and grabbed 3 pieces of the food. Both EM and her kid enjoyed it so much they grabbed another piece each. And then they walked away. I thought that was the end of it and carried on with my work. Boy, was I wrong. A few minutes later, EK comes back asking for more food. Now, we did have a limit per customer. No customer was allowed to have more than 12 samples. I obviously allowed, and he took all the 10 remaining pieces. This ticked me off because now I had to ask the baker to make more of these for me, which would take quite a while as it was a busy day. But I still didn't say anything. The kid runs back to his mother and I take my tray off to the baker. When I come back, I see EB and EK waiting for me next to my stall. As soon as I get there, EB asks me for more of the samples. Here is how the conversation went.
Hey, we really like these. Can we have more samples?
Oh, I'm afraid I don't have any right now. I'm currently waiting for the baker to bake it.
How long will that take?
Quite some time, maybe around an hour. I saw EB's demeanor slowly changing.
An hour? Do you think we have an hour to waste?
Ma'am, you could buy the product. It comes with an offer and...
Do you really think that I would buy this? Ha! I'm not going to spend a penny on this when I can get it for free.
That's where you're wrong, madam, because you're not getting it for free. In fact, I am not allowed to give you any more samples as you've crossed the limit per customer. This really ticked EB off because things weren't going as she planned. She went on about how
customers are always right,
yada yada yada. Frankly speaking, I stopped paying attention to her and started checking my phone for texts. Usually I would get in trouble for using my phone during work, but today is my last day, so whatever. But suddenly I feel EB yanking my apron, trying to get my attention. When I looked at her, she said,
"You are so rude. Why aren't you paying attention to what I'm saying? You know what? As compensation, I need a box of these products for free."
This is when I suddenly thought of an idea. If EB thought she could get away with embarrassing me in front of my co-workers and other customers, we were in a pretty small town where everyone knew each other, then she was wrong. I put on my best smile and politely said, "You know what, you're right, you do deserve it," and I pulled out a box from beside me to hand it to her. She gave me a smug smile and walked away. As soon as she turned, I ran to my manager and asked him if I can clock out early today and promised him I would come back that evening for my send-off party. I then change into my regular clothes and go to the front of the store to watch the show. Soon enough, EB is at the cashiers paying for her stuff, and I noticed that she had stuffed the box into her handbag. She knew what she was doing was wrong. She packed her stuff into the plastic bags and started walking out of the store, but as soon as she gets to the door, the alarm goes off and security stops her. I could clearly see the panic on her face, and I enjoyed it. The security searches through her bag and find the box. Of course, she snitched on me, said I had given it to her, but no one believed it, because why would an employee give customers free stuff? Later, the manager checked the CCTV and I got an earful, but whatever. This was really embarrassing for her, because literally half the town was there, witnessing her little performance. When she went back home, ashamed with no one believing her, I went back to mine, satisfied with what I've done. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to the Impractical Proudness of Parents. I pop. I missed one last time. Number 28. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Do this, sort that there, and move that there, where it belongs. There we go. We are good to go with that one. Right, brain's starting to get a little bit frazzled now. It's just a matter of making sure I've got things covered for every day. As it stands right now, it's almost 10 minutes to 4 on a Thursday morning, and I'm good right up till... I think I'm actually covered for most of that week, so that's good. Okay, with that, I'm going to head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.